Hey, John.
Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic. How was your holiday? Your
Uh,
Christmas?
it was good. It was good. Had my parents in town, and let's see, they came in last week for a couple of days. I think maybe I forget if they were here last Wednesday or not. But fun thing, one of the fun things that we did was I had arranged for my dad and I to take a pen turning class at Rockler on Friday, the Friday before Christmas.
Is that PCC?
No, just down
No,
at
what's
the
Rockler?
Rockler
Oh.
Woodworking.
The woodworking
It's a
place.
woodworking
That's right.
store.
That's right. Yeah.
And but
That's
they do
right.
classes there too. So
Got
we
it.
went down and made a pen, and I obviously I think we've even talked about it. On the
I have a
podcast.
pen.
I have made pens before.
Yes.
But that sort of inspired a weekend of additional turning in the shop, and so that was fun. And I've actually got two more out there glued up, ready to make as soon as
You making banisters for your stairs now? Custom John King banisters? No.
No. Although I've seen some duplicating contraptions, I don't know what they're called, that are pretty cool.
Yeah,
So,
the little templates.
yeah,
and you just
yeah,
kinda
exactly.
do.
Exactly. Those are pretty slick. No, but it's
Okay.
good. But we have a sick goat that's out on the other side of the wall where my tools are, and my wife does not believe that I should. Can't disturb the goat. Although I think she's getting better. She seemed better today than yesterday. So anyway,
Okay.
we'll see about that. But anyway, it was a fun weekend. It was good, and I guess at the moment, so we got our COVID boosters yesterday and the flu shot, which is late for a flu
Right.
shot. But
Okay.
so this morning I was like, I was a little punky, I think, this morning. So I went and took like a 2-hour nap, which you can do, I guess, evidently when you're on vacation.
Yeah, nice.
And that worked out pretty good. So anyway, I'm doing okay though.
Okay.
How about you? How was
I same. We had a very relaxing Christmas holiday. Just kind of we hung out, did our traditional things, got our honey baked ham from the ham store, and enjoyed that quite a bit. Mostly just hung out, and then Christmas Eve. I'm going to transition to the dramatic part of the podcast.
Uh-oh.
More water issues. I think
Oh no.
I have had water issues on this. Now, fortunately,
Outside water issues, inside water issues.
inside water issues.
Oh, no.
Fortunately, no damage other than to my bank account. But the
Okay.
the water pressure regulator valve that keeps water pressure at a reasonable level for pipes on the inside of your house failed. And the
Okay.
way we found out was shower heads have the little regulators in them as well because it's supposed to try to slow pressure. So that I took those out because
Right.
I like a
Right,
nice strong stream for my
Right.
shower.
Yeah.
It was I took a shower and I was peeling skin off my body. And I thought Christmas Eve Christmas Eve day, this is not right. How long can I wait? And so I called the plumber, said, "Is this an emergency?" And the plumber, of course, is not going to tell me that it was their calling service. And I'm like,
who do they
can
know?
I just schedule someone for the 26th? And I'm crossing my fingers and toes, hoping that nothing bad happens. And the kids are like, "I can't shower in that, Dad." I mean, it was like, yeah, it was,
full on
yeah, it was,
play. Nobody needs
Yeah.
to play their children.
yeah. So yesterday he comes and we noticed a couple other things, like the little twist knobs for the toilets started leaking.
Ooh, okay.
And one of the kids' faucet in the bathroom started leaking. It was like never leak. So clearly there was enough pressure to
A surplus
ruin
of
a few
pressure.
things. Yes. And so Tuesday they come out and they look at it and says, "Yep, I got the parts. I can replace it." And they fixed all that. And now the pressure is down. So household pressure is supposed to be somewhere between 60 and 80 psa, 80 at the high end. We were over 90.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, could that damage my inside pipes? And he was kind of like, no, not really. I mean, because your pressure goes up and down, because everybody wakes up in the morning, takes a shower, so the pressure goes down across the whole system as a whole. And then in the middle of the day when no one's doing anything, the pressure goes up, so he was giving me that. He's like, you really weren't. I'm like, well, that's good. I wish the guy answering the phone on Christmas Eve day would have just said, nah, you'll be fine till Tuesday. That would have saved me.
So I'm confused though. Is this something that's at the street or in your house?
In the house. So inside your house, right after the valve that turns the water off to the house. So typically this is somewhere either mine's in the crawl space. Okay. So there's the meter out at the street, and then there's in the crawl space, there's a valve, you turn that off, and right above that valve, there's a bell, and it's a water pressure regulator, and it's got a little bolt in it that you screw in and out to adjust the water pressure for the house. That thing had failed, and so he had to replace that whole thing.
Interesting.
And then I was like, well, and after he replaced it, we looked at the sink, and he's like, yeah, this probably broke some of the insides of the cartridges inside the handles are probably broken, and a couple toilets, the little valves behind the toilets, those are probably broken too. And so I'm like,
meaning they're going to still drip, or you had them replaced?
We waited till he got that in, put the water back on. He's like, they were still dripping. He's like, well, I can come back tomorrow and replace. He didn't have all the parts, so he had to come back the next day.
Okay.
And this morning he was back again and checking everything. And one of the places that was dripping was underneath but it was just it wasn't bad, but it was in the laundry room, which was dripping down into the basement, which I know I've talked about this before because I had to rip out a whole bunch of stuff before. So he replaced that stuff too. So fortunately that didn't explode, but he was like, oh, yeah, that may or may not last very long. It was the shark bite thing and the PEX.
Oh yeah.
And it was a 90 corner, and he's like, that's just,
begging
if you haven't had any problem
for troubles.
He's like, that's the one that'll fail eventually. I'm like, my wife's wedding dress is right underneath that.
How about you fix
just
that?
Just fix that too. So yeah, so I had him fix everything, and yeah. But it was okay. And
okay, that's good.
Yeah. So laughingly, I'm telling the guy, you've seen my history, right? Because I call you guys, I feel like, a lot. He's like, yeah, you've had some interesting water issues here over the years.
Well, that is not how water pressure works with a well.
No.
So
you just don't have any.
Well, there's when it comes out of the well pump, out of the well and into two pressure tanks, and then out from the pressure tanks and into a pipe that goes to the house. And then there's a stand-up something or other, I don't know what it's called, that basically when the pressure gets below, and again, there's a way to adjust this with a screw, but the pressure gets below a certain amount, it'll turn on the well to pump more water into pressure tanks.
Gotcha.
And if it gets once it gets above a certain point. So you basically choose sort of P1 and P2 that it will bounce between to turn on the well to pressurize things.
Yeah. No. City water is you get the pressure from the city and you have this valve inside. It's in my crawl space.
Trying to remember.
Anyways.
I don't think I've been on city water since maybe 2001, maybe? I don't know. It's been a long time. Wells for the win, evidently.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad that your water issues are currently in a resolved state.
Yeah. And then I'll give the other concerning thing. So, last week I had gone on my big road trip.
Yep.
I went to listen. I didn't talk about this, but as we're driving, we're like, the speedometer seems off. That's weird for a brand new truck.
Oh.
Right? Like that's not right. So I make a deal with the Ford dealer, and I go down to the dealer this morning, and I say, hey, why is the speedometer like 10% off? It's like way off.
Really?
Like I'm doing like, because the speed limit across Idaho is 80 in spots, and I was doing 80, but my daughter, and people were flying past us. I'm like, people don't drive that. I mean, I know they drive fast, but
not
this
90.
seems off.
Not
so
90,
she pulls out the app, the little speedometer app that you can get on your phone, and it just does GPS.
Okay.
She could have done Waze as well, but anyways, and we're doing like 71, 72. I'm like, okay, that's not right. So I take it into the Ford dealer and I tell him, hey, it's a brand new truck. Is this off? And he goes and looks, he says, your tires are not the right size. You got smaller tires than are the factory. I'm like, what? They told me when I got the tires from Les Schwab, they told me they were just swapping out with a little bit higher quality tire for snow and ice, because she's going to be in snow and ice. And he said, well, they put on a size smaller. I'm like, well, can you just fix the speedometer? He's like, nope. So Fords,
you have to go back to Schwab.
Old Fords, you could do that. He said, but the new Fords, I can only set it to the factory wheel size. There's like some small set of factory wheel size, and they can reset to those. And then the Ford guy's like, you can go buy a modifier. You can modify it yourself. But then every time I took it in,
OBD, whatever.
Yeah. But every time I take it in, it would get reset. So I'd have to go reset and figure out with it. So I'm like, ugh. So I call up Les Schwab and I'm like, hey, it seems like you guys put the wrong tires on. Is this right? And I go over there and they look and they're like, oh, we did. We put the wrong size tires on. Our bad. Let me just swap them out for you. So they swapped them out for the right size tires, and now her speedometer is correct. And that is why I am a Les Schwab fan, because there was no haggling, there was no nothing. It was just, hey,
Whoops.
We're going to own it. Our mistake. I mean, they went and checked and made sure. They checked the inside the door. It's got the little yellow tag that tells them what the factory tires are, and they're like, yep, it should have been 65. We put 55. The what is it? The wall, the sidewall size was 10% smaller, which mapped to just about the speed. So that's all fixed now.
Well, I am, I guess, good that in the 2 weeks that they were on, you put 20 or 2,000 miles on those poor tires.
Almost 3,000 free miles I got on those tires. Yeah.
Okay.
Minus 10%. Because, anyways.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty funny.
All right.
Well,
I have some fun follow-up. I can segue into follow-up.
Okay. I threw follow-up in as well, but what's your follow-up?
Last week, I was so excited to use the word aglets on my custom Vans, right? My shoes.
Correct.
However, I was incorrect. They were not the aglets. The aglets are the little plastic sheath at the end of a shoelace. They were the eyelets that you can pick different colors. And so I got the eyelets the right color. Anyways, so the follow-up is this morning, my shoes showed up. My custom shoes showed up.
The cool. Everything that you had always hoped for?
No, they only put eyelets on the top. None of the other holes for the laces had the eyelets. They were just empty. I know. I'm like, is that how it's supposed to be? And so I'm going to go back online and look. I go back online to see the order, and the order says, in process, not shipped yet, still in process. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They just showed up. So I'm wondering...
I have them in my hand.
I'm wondering if the whole fiasco last week somehow got my shoes in a scenario where they didn't actually finish them correctly.
They're in a discombobulated
but shipped them
state.
out anyways. But they didn't know they shipped them, and so now they're still waiting to be shipped. I don't know. So now I need to contact customer support.
Is
and
that the
find
sort
out.
of thing that you're better off calling the global customer support, or do you walk into the van store?
Oh, walking into the van store, they won't know. I'll have to contact because they don't do customs in the
Okay.
van store. So I'll have to contact their online customer support. Or it'll be hilarious if a second
I
pair
feel
of
like
shoes
I
shows
paid
up.
for 8 eyelets and I got 2.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So
They're 40% off.
that's right. Anyways, so that's my follow-up from the VF Corp, the Vans shoe store last time with their, I wonder if that whole fiasco that they had caused some issues with their shipping, because they said they could take orders just fine. It was their shipping and delivery that had issues. So I'm wondering if I'm going to get another pair of shoes at some point.
Somewhere on the floor of the custom shoe line, there's like 8 beautiful eyelets that are the exact color you chose.
Exactly.
And
Anyway, so there's my segue follow-up there.
okay. Well, I threw one thing in follow up to you, which was that the first 2 of the Lapsus teenagers who were responsible for all that sort of chaos and mayhem. Was that in 22? A year or so ago, were sentenced. So here's an article in BBC. They did name the 18-year-old. They did not name the 17-year-old. Kurtaj is the name of the 18-year-old, but they said that due to his severe autism, he is basically going to be hospitalized for life. Evidently, no remorse. Promised to go out and continue. And then here was like the the sentence of the article. Despite having his laptop confiscated, Kurtaj managed to breach Rockstar, the company behind Grand Theft Auto, using an Amazon Fire Stick, his hotel TV, and a mobile phone. and with that, threatened Rockstar and wound up releasing early footage from whatever the latest GTA game was.
Yeah.
So the judge said Kurtaj's skills and desire to commit cybercrime meant he remained a high risk to the public. So the 17-year-old, was basically sentenced to 18-month youth rehabilitation order, including intense supervision and a ban on VPNs. Oh, okay then.
Okay.
I wonder how that is enforced. I've never thought about that, I guess. So anyway, that was my follow-up. So the first 2 of the teenagers.
Cool.
But yeah, an Amazon Fire Stick, his hotel TV, and a mobile phone.
It's like MacGyver.
Exactly right. All right. Well, what'd you bring for topics tonight?
So I originally had 2 and then said, you know what, I'm just going to do this one. And it's, we'll call it security adjacent. So we've talked about this, I think, before, about Apple and Google app stores, their monopolies. Various governments are starting to weigh in on how Apple and Google kind of monopolize that market. Yes. So Japan now is preparing regulations to require tech giants like Apple and Google to allow outside app stores and payments on their mobile operating systems. So this is from a Asian website, and so trying to help solve that. So that legislation apparently is slated to be sent to the parliament, the Japanese parliament, in 2024 to restrict moves by platform operators. I assume it would be more than just Apple and Google, any of them, to keep the operators' own ecosystems and shut out rivals, focusing mainly on 4 areas: app stores and payments, search, browsers, and operating systems. So the app stores and payments, I get that one. That one makes sense. Search and browsers and operating systems, it doesn't talk a whole lot about, but I wonder. I'm not sure how that applies, or what the issue is there. So I guess more to come, I'm sure. But I think it's so well. I can put any browser I want on either Windows or Mac, or even my iPhone if I want to. So I think it's got to be something else,
didn't
or maybe
Apple
it's
make
just
it so you could change the default web browser on iOS a couple of versions ago?
Yes, I believe so. I have not bothered to do that, but I don't know if that means the WebKit. So a lot of apps use the embedded web browser, WebKit, which is basically just Safari. So I don't know what that means, or maybe it's just preemptive, or if it's just finally Japanese catching up with the rest of the world that's already established elsewhere in terms of search providers, browsers, and operating systems.
Search, and you can change your search, but
yeah,
Google certainly pays Apple. I think that's been well documented. Google pays Apple a very large amount of money
to remain the default search,
to be the default search provider.
Yeah. So the Japanese Fair Trade Commission is going to impose fines for violations. If it's modeled on existing antitrust law, the penalties would generally be around 6% of the revenue earned from the problematic activities. So details will be worked out this spring. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from the Japanese side of the thing. Because I think Apple has kind of figured out how to skirt or work its way. Apple and Google, I should say, have figured out how to work in Europe with some of their requirements. They've limited it. It'll see if the Japanese Fair Trade Commission forces things a little bit more open than is already. So there you go. It's security adjacent. You're pulling apps from non-app stores may be a thing in Japan.
I just don't. Yeah. Okay. I just most people won't change the defaults. So
no.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. I think in general, options are good. Even if you should pop the 3 dialog boxes. Are you sure? Are you really sure?
Absolutely.
Type delete in all caps.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. I brought 2-ish. Not big ones, but it's been a light week for me in terms of reading. Holiday week.
Yep.
But the first is something from last week, actually. One of the things that I am looking forward to reading at some point is if there's ever a book written about the back and forth between Russia and Ukraine in cyberspace. So there's been so much happening there. Earlier in December, the Kyivstar, the satellite network that provides telecom and internet services, was hacked.
Yep.
And so this is an article that says that, quote, Ukrainian hackers reportedly with support from the security service sought revenge for the recent cyber attack on Kyivstar and destroyed the IT infrastructure of the Russian major private water supply company Rosvodokanal, according to RBC Ukraine's own sources. A powerful cyber operation was conducted by hackers affiliated with the Blackjack Group, purportedly with support from SSU specialists. During the cyber attack, hackers managed to gain access to a large number of documents, encrypt over 6,000 computers, delete over 50 terabytes of data, including internal document circulation, corporate mail, cybersecurity services, backups, etc. So, major water supply company. Sort of the destruction of infrastructure. I thought at one point that there was some agreement about not attacking some of that type of infrastructure, but clearly those sorts of things aren't being honored in this back and forth.
No.
At all. So let's see. It said the operations of Rosvodokanal were disrupted, and that it is the largest private Russian company, part of the Alpha Group, headquartered in Moscow, provides water supply to 7 million consumers. So, anyway, I'm certain there's a ton of stories being, activities and deeds going on every single day there, that it will be interesting if any of it ever comes to light. Just with how technically competent both Ukraine and Russia cyber actors are, let's say. For good or ill, like Ukraine was the haven for a lot of gray actors, before the war as well. So anyway, okay, that was my first one. The second was just a thing from Hacker News about active targeting of weekly credentialed SSH servers. I think this is relatively common, but there's active campaign going on to install port scanners, dictionary, and using dictionary attack tools with the goal of targeting other vulnerable servers, co-opting them into DDoS networks and cryptocurrency mining, as you would expect.
Of course.
Yep.
Of course.
So it says... So the link here, I think I said, was from Hacker News, but it says threat actors can also choose to only install scanners and sell the breached IP and account credentials on the dark web. There's a on lab security report that I think this article was based on. It sounds like they're doing some form of rainbow or dictionary attack, because it says adversaries are trying to guess a server's SSH credentials by running through a list of commonly used combinations. I mean, yeah. Use a
What's old is new again.
Use a certificate, yeah. So let's see. It says, should the brute force attempt be successful, it's followed by the threat actor deploying other malware, including scanners, to scan for other susceptible systems. And there was some info in the article about looking for commands that look for the number of CPUs on the device, for example. Let's see. Last quote from that. These tools are believed to have been created by PRG Old Team. I don't remember reading about this.
It doesn't ring any bells.
Yeah, and each threat actor modifies them slightly before using them in attacks, adding that there's evidence of such malicious software being used as early as 2021. I think one of the other things that is really good to do with if you're going to have a EC2 instance or something like that you SSH to, is have an IP restriction. It's pretty easy. You can only SSH from a given IP address.
Seems reasonable.
Or range, if you're coming from a company network or something like that, you could put a range in, but maybe don't use a 192.168 or 10 dot something.
Yeah.
Anyway, those were what I brought. Those were what I brought tonight.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Fun.
Okay. So in continuing with I was going to send you this. So this is, sidebar, electric cars, right?
Okay.
I got an electric car. Eric is doing an experiment. Does electric cars work for Eric? And it was the little Mini electric. They only go 100 miles. Mini is apparently trying to get as many of these off their lot as quickly as possible, because they have now sweetened the deal even more. So you can now get a mini electric for only $239 a month for, 3 years. And I'm like, I jumped too soon. I could have waited.
Save $70 a month.
And save $70 a month. So, my something fun, I stumbled across this. And it starts out, it's an IEEE article. And it starts out with the story. So I'll just kind of read the story because it was interesting. He says, so this is the story part. As she drives her electric vehicle to her mother's house, Monique's battery gauge indicates it's time to re-energize. She stops at a charging station, taps her credit card at the pump, and inserts a nozzle into the car, and in 5 minutes exchanges 400 liters of spent nanofluid or fresher for fresher stuff. As she waits, a tanker pulls up to the refill station itself by exchanging tens of thousands of liters of charged for spent fuel. Monique closes her EV's fueling port and heads back on the highway with enough stored energy to drive 400 miles. So this is a battery that is called the Flow battery. And it has not been used in electric cars because it's too bulky, it's too big. Well, apparently they have, whoever is working on this, there's a company that's working on this, they have got it down to where it's actually now on par, and they expect to be even better than lithium ion batteries in terms of weight and size, etc. Because it is basically the battery is takes basically the spent electrolyte is replaced rather than recharged. So instead of going in and recharging the battery, you just replace the liquid. And apparently Flow batteries are safe, stable, long-lasting, easily refilled, qualities that suit them for balancing the grid, providing uninterrupted power, and backing up sources of electricity. And there's a bunch more stuff in this article about how it's not flammable, so it's biodegradable. So if it spills, there's not a environmental issue. If it spills, it doesn't burn. It sounds too good to be true, but anyways, it's a great article about a company who has basically tried to focus on this thing that normally takes like large rooms. They've used it for years apparently, but it's so large, and the liquid, you need so much of it to generate charge. Well, they've been focusing on shrinking that liquid that holds the charge to the point where it will, it's now feasible in electric vehicles. So tons of money's being poured into this. It's a pretty long article, like DARPA, of course, Department of Energy, National Science Foundation, working on a host of different ideas, and this is one of them. So it's a company called Influit. Okay. So in order for them to overtake lithium technology, which has been all the rage so far, they're going to have to convince somebody with extremely deep pockets to help it scale up. So we'll see if this changes, because there's also the other solid state batteries that I've heard Toyota has been working on that gives you 600-mile range. And
exactly. That's what I was expecting. So I'm very curious to read this.
Yeah. So it's fascinating article, which I think would work better from just a mental capacity. I go to the gas station. It's not a gas station. It's a recharging station.
It matches with the current model and the current lots of current infrastructure.
Instead of just putting new stuff in, instead of putting new stuff in that went away, I basically circulate out. I expire spent fuel and intake recharged fuel, and it can be recharged over and over and over. So anyways, like I said, it sounds a little bit too good to be true. I'm sure there's some caveats in there, but it's functioning and working, and it looks really kind of cool. So that's my something fun. Yet another potential replacement for fossil fuels that seems to work a little bit better.
Well, okay. So this is completely orthogonal, but since the name of them is Influit, which frankly it seems like a pun on Intuit.
Intuit, yeah.
I will say that my wife got one of my sons, a T-shirt. We always get T-shirts for Christmas, but it says, "Intend your puns, you cowards." Because it is, yeah. It's sort of him,
well done.
and sort of like,
well done.
As you know, and we're good and. We're good with puns generally. Although I guess I do get a lot of stares when I do the dad joke things, like death stares. Anyway, it's all good. Okay, so you're something fun. If it was a competition, I'm beat by a mile because that is super awesome.
Oh,
but it's not a competition. It's okay though.
No, it's not.
But my wife actually sent me a picture. Came up on her Facebook feed. And when I went to look, I don't think it's recent. I think it's actually from earlier. So I was like, oh, but I really, really like the picture. I don't remember us talking about it. So what she showed me was a picture of Jupiter that was taken from the NASA Juno probe. And I went and searched our RSS for Juno, and I didn't see it. So anyway, but my something fun, I will put it there at when I went out to the NASA website. It turns out that they are expecting the closest pass of Io to be done by Juno. Juno is the NASA Jupiter orbiter.
Right.
Will be done in 2 more days as we record this, or 3 more days, I guess. The 30th of December is going to make a 930 mile from the surface, about 1,500 kilometers pass of Io, and the photos will probably be, I don't know, I guess if they stitch them all together, because I think it's going to be too close to get like a planetary perspective. That's pretty close. But if you go out to the Juno website, there are some amazing photos out there, but this photo of Jupiter is astounding. The comment on Reddit was that it looks like a Van Gogh portrait, which is what made me think of you.
I had seen that. It does look super cool. It does look very Van Gogh-esque.
Van Gogh-esque. Yes. Nice word. So anyway, the my something fun is the Juno mission, which, by the way, was supposed to end a couple years ago, but was extended in 2021, according to NASA.
Yeah, as long as the spacecraft works. Why?
Oh! And by the way, I heard that the James Webb Space Telescope, gosh, this should have been my something fun too. I saw a thing that basically said they didn't need to use their contingency fuel on launch of the James Webb Space Telescope. So instead of a 10-year operating life, they believe they'll be able to get a 20-year operating life.
Oh, nice.
Which, given the images that's been giving out, that would be pretty awesome. I'll have to see if I can find that. If I will, I'll throw a link in here too. But anyway, that's my something fun. The Juno mission will be passing by Io, less than 1,000 miles over the surface in a couple days, and that will be very exciting.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So I just went and checked the Van's custom website, and apparently the eyelet is only on the very top one. They don't do eyelets down the whole thing. It's just at the very top.
Really?
Which seems weird to me. Why would you only do one eyelet at the top?
Do most fans have more than one eyelet?
I don't know. No, I mean, no. Most of them don't have any. And I need to go check my shoes now. So
Okay then.
I have more than a few pair. I could check and see how
they're
all different.
That's what you said.
That's the rumor. All right, John.
That's the rumor. All right. Well, have a great New Year's.
Yeah.
And I guess I will speak to you in the new year.
I'll see you next year.
Bye.
Bye.